Hello and welcome to the OCVarsity Gridiron Show Week 3. I am your host, Jonathan Khamis, being joined by Dan Albano, I got it right this time, Steve Friar, the only one not wearing shades. Here we are at Servite, guys, and it's our game of the week as Servite plays their first home game this season at Cerritos College, Friday night, 7 o'clock start against Villa Park. Two undefeated teams, Steve, but if Servite has been doing well offensively, but there's always something that they can get better at, and unfortunately this year, it's penalties. They got to clean those up against a tough team like Villa Park.
Yeah, and those are just, it seems like when penalties start, it almost like keeps going. It's a domino effect, and it's something that Servite has to work out. Servite's been playing really well at a place where they're traditionally good. Interior line play's been really good. They're running the football pretty strong, too, and they got the really good defensive backfield with Julius Ervin and company. So should be a good challenge for Villa Park and for Servite too. Villa Park, they didn't play last week. They probably circled this game on their schedule back in January and game planning like heck for it.
Yeah, Villa Park's had some time off. They played Hawaii early in their season, and they had a bye week last week. These two teams met last year. Servite beat Villa Park 41-32. You were at that game, Steve. It was a tough game. Dan, what does Villa Park have to do to, I'm sure what people would consider an upset and try to beat Servite here?
Well, I think Villa Park they play real hard for Deuce and Antich. They like to be physical. They're going to probably try to run the ball balanced. But I think what really intrigues me about this game in Villa Park is are they going to have some of their key transfers eligible from Corona? I checked in with Coach Antich earlier this afternoon, and there's a possibility. It seems like he's not sure. No more as the week progresses. One guy I've had my eye on is Zeke Holyfield. He hasn't played yet, but it shows on the CIF Southern Section approval list that he's made a valid change of residence. Wide receiver DeLon Hurt from Servite Fine receiver senior. He's well connected. So I asked him, "What do you think, DeLon?" And he thought the transfers were going to play, and he included Marcus Johnson, who's a defensive back who's committed to USC. Now you put those guys on the field. There's some other guys like the quarterback Illingsworth, who's going to be he's going to be a sit-out period. But you put some of these guys on, and I'm not the only one who's wondering about the transfer. So could be interesting out there at Cerritos College. Maybe we'll see some new OCVarsity standouts.
Yeah, rumor is I might play too. Steve might suit up. You never know.
Hey, how's your eligibility?
It's a little bit past.
What's the GPA, Jonathan?
Let's change the subject. All right, guys, we talked to Servite earlier today. We talked to Coach and a couple players. Here's what they had to say. My GPA is great, Dan.
Our tempo, pretty much. I feel like we get teams off balance, and teams who are very unconditioned, we catch them by surprise because we go so fast.
Knowing what play they're going to run before the snap, so you could be in the right position, baiting the QB, knowing the QB's tendencies, who he likes to throw to. All those things kind of come into play when you're looking at getting an interception or a turnover in the game. So just studying all those things and knowing what to do in the situation when the ball's in the air. So ball skills is another thing. Those are all things that play a part in it.
I like the flow a lot. We like to go very fast. It helps us catch teams off guard and use our athletic ability to our advantage.
They're a great program. Offensively, they're going to give us a bunch of different formations and unbalanced looks, shift over, and try to really run the ball and control the clock. They're a physical football team, and Coach Antich always does a great job with those guys. So it's going to be a big game and first home game for us this year. So I think it'll be exciting for both sides.
Thanks to Servite for hosting us on the Gridiron Show today. Steve, another game that, if we're going to have two games of the week, this is it, where you have undefeated teams going at it again. Mission Viejo 3-0 at Long Beach Poly 2-0. This game will be at the Vet Friday night. Steve, Mission Viejo, they beat La Habra 42-27. We were there, Dan. It was an uneven game, marred by penalties, but La Habra sure put up a good fight. Can the Diablos go into Long Beach and get the win, considering they had some injuries in that game against La Habra?
They're going to have to counter with Poly's great speed. How close is this game? Dan, I don't know if you checked this out, or Jonathan, you checked this out yet. In the state rankings, Mission Viejo's number 5, Poly's number 6. Yeah. Now, there's a lot of teams in the state, so, percentage-wise, those guys right next to each other. It's going to be a pretty tough game. Mission Viejo's going to have to play without the running back Farrell, who was, having such a great year, but they replaced him pretty good and still got a good ground game going. So it's going to have to be a pretty flawless game for Mission Viejo to get a win in this game, I think, guys.
Dan, we were at Mission's game last week against La Habra. Like I said, Coach Johnson was worried about the depth of his team, and that was before he lost Farrell and I believe a lineman at the end of the game, if I'm not mistaken. Mission might have to play mistake-free football, and that's kind of tough to do when Long Beach Poly has a quarterback of their own.
Yeah, Matt Carell, Florida commit, is outstanding. Already had some big connections. They put on an aerial display against Los Alamitos, pretty good Los Al team. Mission is well coached, disciplined players, and they have the athletes and the speed to go up there to vets, and they're definitely confident. So I think Mission can get the victory.
Yeah, we'll see exactly what these guys think on the OCVarsity prediction show that'll drop later this week. All right, guys, finally, San Juan Hills, they are at Edison. Both of these teams are 2-1 on the year. Steve, Edison beat Canyon last week, 38-0. San Juan Hills also beat Canyon, but they lost to Capistrano Valley last week, 14-7. When you're looking at these two teams on paper, Steve, what do you like? What do you don't like?
Well, San Juan Hills defense played really well last week, losing 14-7 to Capistrano Valley, holding Capital Valley to 14 points. That's pretty good. They got a really good defense. Edison's having some offensive struggles, even though they scored a lot of points against Canyon. Griffin O'Connor didn't play; he's been sick, but we can probably expect him to be back for this game. I think one of the things about Edison, and I saw them play Tesoro, the Edison offensive line isn't as stalwart as it was last year. O'Connor's not getting quite the time, the lanes, and all that stuff that last year's offensive line afforded him. So he's just not being able to operate as well as he did last year when he had a grand all-county junior year. So that offensive line's going to coalesce, get better. There's things you can do when you just don't have the beef up front. You can figure things out. They got to run the ball better with Carmichael, who's not seeing the holes that maybe he got last year as well. They still have good receivers over there, but I think offensively they have to make strides as they get ready for the Sunset League and playing Los Al, which looks pretty good this year.
Missing big Mike Saffel, huh?
Yeah. I guess Mike was a pretty good.
He's a stud. All right, Dan. We talked about San Juan Hills needing some offense. Steve was just talking about Edison needing some offense. Someone's got to score. Who's it going to be? What are your thoughts on the game, Dan?
You look at the comparative score between these two teams with Canyon, and it certainly favors Edison. So I think they'll get a pretty decisive victory. I think San Juan's going to be pretty fired up after last week, and they're a gritty group there at San Juan Hills in the South Coast League, and Coach Flowers, so he'll get them going. But I think this should be a pretty decisive victory for Edison.
Okay, there you have it. Those are the two experts. I'm just Jonathan Khamis. I'm a host. What do I know? I'll be at the game shooting video. These guys do all the work, writing, blogging, taking photos, taking video when they can.
Video stuff, yeah. We're getting better at it. That play button and that save button, I got to figure it out.
They don't listen to me, but they're doing all right.
I'm holding the camera the right angle like you told me to.
Landscape, sideways, guys,
Albano,
sideways.
He's an addict on that thing, man. He's something.
Yeah, man, it's kind of a disease, right, or some kind of symptom. You're on Facebook too much, right, Dan? Is that? Or you might need to look into that.
Maybe you can help me with that, Jonathan.
I'll see what I can do. All right, thanks to everyone watching, and make sure to check out OCVarsity all weekend long for all your latest high school scores. Thanks for watching.